Welcome back to GovScale Insider live on LinkedIn, and we are also live on YouTube. And so, if you are listening on YouTube, just know that I go live every Tuesday on LinkedIn. So you can just join us there, and there's some great value information for you in your government contracting journey. But today, I actually want to talk about the big elephant in the room that everybody's talking about, but very few people understand. And I want to make sure that by the end of this conversation today that you know exactly how to handle your government contracting journey and you know exactly what to do next. My name is Melinda Colón. I'm a government contracting expert. I've helped my clients achieve over $4.4 billion in contracts, and we have a win rate average of 74%. And most questions that I get around that average is, how are you doing that? So I want to share with you my GovCon sales strategy in a few minutes, but really want to tackle the topic for today. So today we're going to talk about the truth about the shutdown and what savvy contractors are doing right now to prepare for fiscal year 2026. So first and foremost, I want to actually debunk one of the myths in government contracting. Government contracting is open to SLED and FED. So, what does that mean? I'm actually going to teach you a pro level acronym right now. SLED is state, local, and education, whereas FED is the federal government. These are the two markets that work together and hand in hand to really help build our local and our federal economy and also have opportunities for small, mid-sized, and large companies to win contracts to do business with the government. So, for a little while, for the next few minutes, I am actually going to eliminate the word government for a second so that I can have all of your attention. See, what happens is when we hear the word government, or at least most people hear the word government, they get scared or they think about something terrifying or hard or difficult. And I'm here to tell you that people that are running businesses like yours, your competitors in your state where you're located, are winning government contracts every single day. And yes, even when there's a government shutdown. So, what is going on with this government shutdown? What does this actually mean? Well, every fiscal year, so the fiscal year starts October 1st and it goes through till September 31st. I should know that. I have a birthday in September, September 30th. And so for all of that fiscal year that starts October 1st through September, these are contracts that have already been voted on. Like this is a budget, appropriation budget that has already been approved by Congress. An appropriation bill is what did not pass on October 1st. So on October 1st, when we were ready to get started with the new fiscal year, Congress had a different idea. So, what they have been fighting on, and it continues to be a fight, is a continuing resolution to basically try to keep the government open as much as possible during this process. What is open? So, state and local parks are open. Given this administration, it's usually in past shutdowns, this was actually closed. This was actually a government entity that was closed, but now it is open. So if you go to a park, the gates will be open, for the time being, as of the time of this recording. Now, the other thing to keep into consideration is because there are agencies that are open right now, and because there are contracts that are being awarded right now, that contracting officers are available right now. So, this is something that's good. This is a good opportunity for you if you have not yet established your strategy to win contracts for your business that are a right fit, that are strategically positioned for you to win, and you don't have a relationship yet, or you need to establish a relationship with the government. This is the time. Now, if you do have a contract, let's say you do have a contract and you were considered not essential, so you may have received um, a work order, stop work order notification from your contracting officer to say, hey, no moving forward. Now, what this means is if you have any subcontractors or workers or anybody that is billable for you, you need to tell them to stop as well. This is really important. Make sure that you are documenting this information and any activities that occur during the time of the shutdown and when you receive the order and when you receive other notification that it has been that you're ready to move forward with the contract. If your contract does get canceled, now this happens, especially if it's non-essential or a budget gets reestablished. This happens. However, I have heard it on the rare side, but it still does happen. So when that does happen, or if it does happen, what you want to do is make sure that you have a document list of expenses that are associated with delivering that contract, that scope of work within that timeline. Share that with your KO, share that with your point of contact so that they know exactly what was involved or what you had paid for. And depending on the situation, you may find that they are going to cover the cost, but just depending on the situation, every scope of work, every contract, every agreement, your clauses are so important that you understand the details of your contract so that you can be really considerate and thoughtful about how you're moving forward in your business. Now, for those that are getting awarded contracts right now, this is also an opportunity for you to revisit and revise your clauses. Make sure that you have proper documentation and prepare yourself for anything that that happens. I mean, we all should have car insurance if we have a vehicle, right? We all have vehicle insurance. We have a vehicle. And so we don't have insurance because we know something's going to happen. We have insurance just in case something happens. This is your insurance documentation in written form. So email, anything that goes through the portal, any documentation that showcases that you have done the work or that you've started the work in case that something occurs or changes about your contract. And that's regardless if we're at a shutdown or not. Okay, so that's what a shutdown is. That's how it's impacting government contractors. Now, what can we say about this timeline? No one knows how long this is going to be. During the Clinton administration, there was a shutdown. During the last Trump administration, there was a shutdown, and this is said to be one of the longest shutdowns in history. Now, there are, I'm not going to get political, but there are different reasons for that. And what I will share with you right now is what you can do in your control. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. We can't control the weather that I know of. We can't control, outside sources, but we can control how we respond. And so, what I will ask you to do is put your contractor's hat on for a moment, your business owner's hat on for a moment, and consider maybe this is an opportunity for you to be strategic. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to position for the next fiscal year. Because when we experienced shutdowns in the past, well, the federal budget or the appropriations bill was passed and we were able to continue doing business as usual. And this happens each time there's a shutdown. So, knowing that everything will go back to normal or some semblance of normalcy, then what do we do? What does that mean for our contracting officers, our agencies that we're building relationships with? That means that they have less time to do the same amount of work. That means that their budgets, their fiscal year budgets, have to be spent to zero by the end of September. Now, let's do a little math here. Originally, we have 12 months. If everything is perfect, we have 12 months. No shutdowns, 12 months. Now we're down 22 days and we have the holidays and we don't really know how long the shutdown is going to be. So what does that do? That puts pressure on agencies to spend the same amount of money in less time. So this is why it's important to take this time to be strategic and position yourself to win. Build those relationships while everybody else is paying attention to the fog. Pay attention to where it's coming from or the other direction and really start to run as soon as they pass that bill because that is the opportunity of a lifetime. coupled with the American wealth transfer, something that I don't see much media coverage on, even though it is impacting every American that exists right now. So, the American wealth transfer is a significant amount of wealth that is transferring from one generation to another generation. The challenge of this that it impacts is it also impacts the government space, the small business owners that are in the government space. One of my friends who is a procurement officer for a government agency, he shared with me that one of his contractors who he's had in the books for years for recurring revenue. I mean, insane. They have a contract of $500,000, excuse me, that is awarded every single year to him because he's just, he's the only bidder. Great work. And, they like his pricing. Well, unfortunately, the gentleman retired. Well, or fortunately, depending on the perspective that you have. So he retired. And so he closed his one person firm or his business where he was at least had one contract. He more than likely had more than one contract of $500,000 a year. Now that contract goes back out to the portal, the procurement site for someone else. And hopefully, fingers crossed, is what my friend said. Hopefully, I find someone as talented and as good and as consistent as this individual. You might be wondering what it was. But it doesn't matter. There's so many opportunities available for businesses, specifically service businesses in the government space. Now, I'm going to give you another tip. Another tip, this is a fast tip, so you might want to just write this down really quickly. And it is rebids. Rebids, rebids. Rebids. Now, you might see a solicitation that says rebid. Have you ever seen that before where it says rebid in the title? Well, this is an indication that this specific opportunity was solicited. So it was advertised and they were not able to find a qualified vendor. Whether somebody did not respond, there was nobody that responded, or not enough people that responded. And that is your chance to get in right now. So that's another opportunity. Now, if you know that somebody keeps waving their hand saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a vendor that provides these services," and they keep putting their hand out as a rebid, don't you think that would be kind of like those lower level hanging fruit that you can just kind of grab, snag, and show up as an expert? Now, I will tell you that if you have hung out with me for a while, I am really, really interested in serving clients and companies that understand the value of building something that it can stand on its own. So, one of the ways that you can build a business that stand on its own is having specific services that align with each other. Like if you're in construction, you only do construction. If you're in engineering, you only do engineering. And if you're in healthcare or IT or professional services of any kind, consulting, coaching, you stay within that industry and you have built a rapport and experience in that industry. And over time, you become the authority, right? You have all of this experience, and that becomes what your calling card is made of in any market. You know, and this sounds really simple. Many of you might think, well, that's just how I run business. Isn't that how businesses ran? Yes, and there are different strategies to win government contracts. This is one that I would recommend highly. Even as a prime, even as a subcontractor, this is what government buyers want. They want experience. When it comes to service based businesses, they want experience. Now, how do you position your business to showcase that experience that you have gathered over the years? Well, you want to make sure that it's tailored to speak the language of the buyer. This is a simple, basic marketing tactics, right? So just tailoring your messaging, but also keeping consideration why are they buying what you sell? Why are they buying what you sell? The more you learn about your clients, the more you learn about the prospects, the agencies that you're trying to build relationship with, the easier your government marketing experience is going to be. So That's what I wanted to share with you about that rebid and trying to get in or trying to grow your business with government contracts by diversifying your revenue. Did you know that most small businesses in the United States only has one revenue stream and typically it's not government contracts? 5% of small businesses in United States actually have government contracts. This is a huge opportunity for you to take advantage of something that's always available. Over the last 270 years, government contracting has been a way for small businesses to grow. All right, so now the next thing that I want to share with you is the GovCon sales strategy. Kind of like, how do we put this together? Even if you are starting out or you've been in government contracting before or for a while, you'll want to listen in. The GovCon sales strategy has worked for existing businesses that are seven, eight figures and beyond, and also six-figure business owners. And the system is really quite simple. There are only five simple steps. The first step is to prepare. See, a lot of business owners or a lot of contractors will go into government contracting looking at the contracts. They'll just say, hey, I just want to go on sam.gov or register for a procurement notification like MyGovWatch, which I highly recommend. And I will find opportunities and then I'll just submit. And that's great, but it's kind of like the spaghetti strategy. It's kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what hits. That will turn out to be a win, if not at all, but it will not be a repeat. I can guarantee that. Repeating the strategy of throwing something and hoping that it sticks is something that will potentially increase your operation. So, cost of actually bidding on work. And you might consider, like, it doesn't really work for me, Melinda. I'm not winning anything. Well, I want to actually you to consider your strategy. So, step one is really, what do you want to sell? What services do you want to sell to the government? And how much can you sell? Do you require specific staff members to fulfill the work to sell that service? Um, what systems do you have in place to deliver the services that you want to provide? These are all things that will be in consideration as part of your business planning. So, what is your plan to grow your business? So, one of the questions I ask of buyers when I'm talking to them is, do the majority of your vendors that you sell to, do they work only with you or other contract or other agencies? And 9 times out of 10, they usually say they have different clients, right? Because they can tell through the past performance and your registration, things like that. And I remember one individual who she was out of the state of Washington, and she shared with me that she had a vendor who was highly irregular and had their entire business was dedicated to only government contracts. And I agree. Most contractors who have been in the industry for at least like 10, 15 years or so on and so forth, that they have understood that private sector work feeds government contracting and public sector work feeds the commercial side. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, you have some experience on the private side. So you sell to B2B or B2C, and you want to win a contract, but you have no experience working with the government. You can actually use your private sector experience to win a government contract. It's just about making sure to emphasize what's comparable or what's similar to that specific contract, showcase their expertise, and tailor it in a way that makes the most sense to those buyers. So that's another strategy, but that's step number one is prepare. What can I sell? Like, what are all the things that I can sell and have expertise in, have knowledge in, to make it an easy win for my business? Now, step number two is target those buyers that actually buy what you sell, but more so target the buyers that offer the right fit contracts for your business to buy or to sell. So, what this looks like is, if you're a 5-person firm or a 5-person construction business and you're looking at a $10 million contract, right? and it requires that you do this, that, and the other. And you're like, okay, if I do the math, I need about 20 people on staff to do this project. What do I do? Right? What do I do? If you need more, then you have a way to position differently, which is step number three, strategize. But now you know they are buying for. So when you know what the government is buying for, then you could then you can prepare yourself accordingly to build that relationship. So you target the right buyers, you do your market research on those buyers. Every government agency has a different initiative. They have different missions and goals, just like different businesses, right? You go to their website, you learn about what their focus is, their mission, their values, and specifically their initiatives and their plans for the future. Oftentimes, this is something that people overlook. And I'm going to actually mention another little nugget of value here, and it is budgets. I say the word budgets that way because when I'm talking to contractors who want to be proactive, they don't know where to look. They think that the solicitation has to be where to go. Well, it's kind of like I think when I think about just going to sam.gov or a procurement site and just finding opportunities before doing your market research, before knowing how many contracts will be solicited or advertised that I can respond to. This is kind of like a shotgun approach, but more so if you know what the old timey stock market floors look like, which is like a ton of people just kind of screaming like buy 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 buy, right? And it's just overwhelming, and it's hard to really stand out in that crowd. And of course, on the contracting side, right, the government buyer, the contracting officer, the procurement officers are looking at a ton of people responding, but very few people actually compliant because they hadn't done their research. Between 10 to 12% industry average are people that are winning contracts in the early stages of their government journey. So, why is this the case? This is the case because we're not doing proactive research. Now, I say the word research, some people were just like kind of, oh, I don't want to think about researching, but it actually is really fun. It's an exciting experience when you start to see millions, if not billions of dollars set aside for what you deliver every single day to private sector clients. So that's step number two. Step number three is strategize, positioning to win, whether that's prime, sub, or even JV. Step number four is to submit your proposal, your pricing, and make sure that I would say this no matter what industry you're in. Try not to be the lowest, even though they say be the lowest. But if you are not used to pricing or bidding on contracts, there is this myth: I have to be the lowest. I have to be the lowest to win. It is not that it's not true for all contracts, and it's definitely not true for every industry. Productized businesses where you're selling products like you're a supplier, yes, there is definitely smaller margins. Service businesses, you have higher margins. Product businesses often are just materials or cost of goods, where you do need to go towards the lowest price. And even in the solicitation, or another word is advertisement, it'll say whether or not this will be based off the lowest bid or basic best value or cost plus. They will tell you their pricing strategy. So, and how they're going to select. So you don't have to worry too much about I need to be the lowest because they'll tell you. And you'll also just ask the question, right? And find that information out before you bid. And you don't want to just go and be the lowest because that's really going to impact your performance deliver, right? You want to make sure that there is a healthy margin so that you can deliver excellence, so that you can build a reputation of someone who is not great just on paper, but great when with customer service and care, and just really takes care of the entire government process, the procurement process. So that's step number four is submitting. Now, step number five, and last step, is track. So track is all about iterations. We want to get feedback. We want to want to learn more about what's working and what's not working in the pursuit process. When you put in a bid, a proposal, or a fee, you want to know, okay, not just based off the scoring, but tell me more about the selection committee. Because more than not, there is a committee of people that are evaluating all proposals to select somebody to win that contract. So if you are just talking to one person, it's going to be hard to understand what everybody thinks about your response. But if you get the scoring sheet from the selection criteria, that'll help you tremendously know where everybody scored, and also follow up and say, well, what do they find, or what do they find, right? There's specific strategic questions that I offer my clients so that they know how to approach this instance. And you don't want to wait, right? As soon as you find out, and they actually tell you when they're going to award the contract. So as soon as the contract has been awarded, you want to take action. You don't want to wait. You don't want to delay. You don't want to say, I'll get to it tomorrow. You want to do it immediately. Now, if you are getting awarded the contract, still want to ask, right? You want to make sure that you're improving your relationship with that agency. You want to make sure that they understand that, hey, this is not a one time, this is a long journey. You're going to stuck with me for at least a few decades. And that's what they want to hear. That's music to their ears, knowing that there are contractors that are experienced, knowledgeable, and applying best practices to deliver excellence for them over and over again. If any of this information was helpful for you, I want to introduce you to an opportunity that I call the GovScale Insider Masterclass. I am hosting a virtual webinar where I'm going to share with you a little bit more of a deep dive on the 5 steps of this GovCon sales strategy, and specifically how you can tailor it to your business. Whether you're in construction, if you're in IT, consulting, and professional services, this is a masterclass you do not want to miss, because you might be on the sidelines and you just need to adjust your perspective so that you can see the opportunities that are right fit. Listen, this shutdown is doing you a favor. It is basically pausing the world so that you can be strategically positioned to win even more opportunities in 2026 than ever before. But the only thing that is in your way is decision. So let me help you make that decision now. Go ahead and click the link down below. Register yourself for a free spot in our GovScale Insider Masterclass, and I'll see you there. And this is an opportunity that you don't want to miss. This is where transformation happens. Whether you're in construction, IT, professional services, or consulting, you're going to want to be in the room. And I want to make sure that I'm serving you the best way possible in getting your questions answered, debunking myths, and making sure that you walk away with a roadmap so you know exactly what to do first. All right, guys, I'll see you there.